Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. It is Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight,
we have gangsters running this country. Criminals, gangsters.
What are they going to do when radicals use those Stinger missiles and other surface air missiles to shoot down airliners? They can't cover it all up. What's going to unfold?
They thought they could cut deals with some of these really worst of the worst terrorists.
This should also just say CIA in it, because that's all it is. For months now, ISIS has been threatening to come here on American soil in mass numbers and do lone wolf attacks.
I'm confident that before the end of the Obama administration, there'll be an effort to sign on to the UN Small Gun Treaty in a major way.
There'll be a revolution and they're going to lose, Alex. There are too many guns and too many people ready to fight them. It is the most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history.
all that plus much more up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
And it's that type of behavior that spurred me to do the research to develop a true nutraceutical formula that was designed to smooth out and help children focus. All of our children are hit with modern mind control. Television, music, fast food, GMOs, sugars, you name it. Young humans have not yet developed their nervous system and are being hammered daily by globalist concoctions. It's no wonder they can't focus and calm down and then are put on dangerous psychotropic drugs. Working with my team, we set out to find the best formula with the highest quality ingredients that children would actually like and take. We worked with the leading manufacturer in nutritional supplements that are safe for children to bring you the most affordable and powerful calming formula out there. Introducing Child Ease with herbs and calming extracts like chamomile and lemon balm and essential nutrients that taste great. Obtain your Child Ease today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's Child Ease exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com.
President Obama took to the Broadway stage to bash the GOP candidates. He particularly went after them for calling him weak, and he was rather snarky about it.
Every one of these candidates say, Obama's weak. Putin's kicking sand in his face. When I talk to Putin, he's going to straighten out. Just looking at him, he's going to be. And then it turns out they can't handle a bunch of CNBC moderators.
Obama went so far as to say that the 2016 Republican candidates seem to occupy a different reality. He was saying that, according to them, everything was really good in 2008 when we were going through the worst economic crisis of our lifetimes. Obama said that this apparently was the golden age that he then has messed up. Now, obviously, he is not single-handedly responsible for that, but he has certainly helped in the descent. Now, he's really one to talk about this bias and point fingers because he's had the press in his back pocket since at least 2007. They've been biased in his favor, giving totally biased coverage. Now, Trump, of course, fired back. In a Good Morning America appearance, he noted that he doesn't really personally care about the debates, but he added that Obama can't even handle the country. He said, he may say the Republicans don't get along on a debate, and it's not us. We are being asked very rude questions. He's having a hard time, not a hard time. He can't handle the country. He is doing a terrible, terrible job. Now, these are the times when I actually really like Donald Trump, and I'm glad he's even in the ring there because he does say some of the things that a lot of people wish people would say. Now, meanwhile, his GOP rival, Ben Carson, pointed out that the president is a total hypocrite, and he noted that in 2007, Obama refused to take part in a Fox News debate for the very same reason, and so did Hillary Clinton. Both Clinton and Obama backed out of a debate that Fox News co-sponsored with the Congressional Black Caucus. And of course, at that time, liberal activists were calling for the Democratic presidential candidates to not participate in these debates, specifically because they say they were biased against Democrats. So that's just the same old liberal hypocrisy. Now, we had a lot of big breaking news on the Alex Jones Show today. Michael Savage was on fire. He was discussing this most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history, and that's going to be coming up. But first, we Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer was also on the show, and he was breaking down key intel regarding the downing of Russian airliner A321 over Egypt.
Let me ask you this big question. Now that we see the aftermath years later, ISIS, which is just al-Qaeda, as you do in your organization, you go around, educate Congress, you educate the candidates. Right. You're in an info war with the truth. When the White House 3 years ago was saying, oh, these are all good rebels, they're wonderful, you went and exposed that with other military people that it was almost all radical Saudi Arabian Wahhabist. So they clearly know that. Then what are they thinking? What's the end game? Where is this going? What are they going to do? Like I asked you years ago when this first happened, what are they going to do when radicals use those Stinger missiles and other surface-to-air missiles to shoot down airliners? They can't cover it all up. What's going to unfold? What were they thinking? I mean, you know, in the old days, just 15 years ago, you used to run missions, some of it's come out in the news, trying to find old Stingers. You guys would go through all sorts of hell just to get a few old Stingers. Now you've got hundreds of modern ones being given to these crazies. What is the establishment thinking?
Well, at this point in time, I think that's part of the issue. Is they got completely out of control. They know, for example, Alex, that these things are kind of scattered all over. And I think this is where the real fear remains, because the last time a credible terrorist organization tried this was al-Qaeda in 2002 in Kenya, where they attempted to take down 2 Israeli charter aircraft. It didn't work for any number of reasons, thank goodness. But imagine now we have that situation where al-Qaeda does have, and ISIS does have, literally crates of these things. And I think this is where we don't know what's going on, and I think we're blind. What's the end game? Well, I don't know exactly what the leadership was thinking, other than they thought they could cut deals with some of these really worst of the worst terrorists, to think that they could be our partners in the Middle East to bring some level of different stability. And frankly, you know, the whole thing of trying to partner with the Free Syrian Army and the Al-Nusra Front, it was all ill-conceived. But I think, to be honest with you, there's an arrogance on the left, Alex, that permeates their thinking, where they think they're the smartest people in the room. This is the analogy is Enron, where you had Jeffrey Skilling right down there in Texas and Enron thinking that they were the smartest guys in the room, and they could do things that no one else has ever done. And I think that thought has been one of the problems with the left, where they will think, you know, despite the fact they have all these people available to them to help educate them, they think they're smarter than everybody else. And they go off on these really idiotic, ill-conceived concepts of operations, which result in tragedy. And I think that's what's going on here.
As Europe is buckling under this refugee crisis, Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel is actually saying that Germany needs to step up their role in this refugee crisis. She says, we're experiencing something we've never experienced before, that conflicts that appear to be far away suddenly are here on our doorstep. She talks about setting up so-called transit zones for these refugees who are flooding in across the border, saying that those people who are coming from countries of safe origin must be sent back as quickly as possible, which, as we've pointed out, that is the majority of the people that are flooding across the borders in Europe. There are people that are not fleeing from Syria or other war zones. But the Hungarian prime minister is blaming this crisis on an orchestrated move by George Soros and his ilk. Now, this is in an interview on public radio. The Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, he accused this billionaire investor of being a prominent member of a circle of activists who support anything that weakens nation states. They support everything that changes the traditional European lifestyle. Now, Soros responded in an email statement. He said he has a 6-point plan published by his foundation, which helps uphold European values, while Orban's actions undermine those values. Now, Orban actually has been criticized. He set up a razor wire fence. That's what he's wanting to do, is set up a razor wire fence. Now, Soros points out that his plan treats the protection of refugees as the objective and national borders as the obstacle. So right there, clearly advocating for open borders, not to protect and uphold European values. And of course, it's not because he wants open borders because we should all be free to travel wherever we would like to without globalists telling us we need to have an identification. But a borderless world is a key component of global governance. That's why they are pushing for this. Now, later in the show, Dr. Jerome Corsi is going to be breaking down the Black Lives Matter movement, which, of course, is another Soros-backed movement. And he kind of talks about how this is an orchestrated social movement in order to create a revolutionary environment to divide and conquer and to create this civil unrest that is so necessary for them to provide order out of chaos and create, of course, their ultimate goal, which is a socialist society.
Mushrooming numbers of displaced people across the globe have now reached levels higher than at any time in recorded history. The New York Times reports the United Nations claims that nearly 60 million people have been driven from their homes by war and persecution, an unprecedented global exodus that has burdened fragile countries with waves of newcomers and littered deserts and seas with the bodies of those who died trying to reach safety. Europe is being transformed overnight by the sovereign decimating socialist policies spearheaded by the EU immigration invasion leading German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Merkel recently bent to the wave of immigration critics when she voiced support for transit zones that would serve to send refugees from safe countries of origin packing. Of course, the damage has already been done to many parts of Europe. For example, the small village of Sumte, Germany, population 102, is expected to take in 750 refugees, a metaphor for the transformative collision course now underway. Meanwhile, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is attributing the source of the soft invasion of cultural devastation to billionaire George Soros and his circle of activists. Bloomberg reports Soros fired back, claiming Prime Minister Orban treats the protection of national borders as the objective and the refugees as an obstacle. Soros said, "Our plan treats the protection of refugees as the objective and national borders as the obstacle." Back in the United States, President Obama, a key member of Soros's activist circle, has been quietly pursuing a four-option plan to allow work permits to illegals. Regardless of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals injunction in order to review the constitutionality of Obama's DHS enforcement nullification initiatives, The Hill reports a leaked memo reveals the first option as providing EADs, or Employment Authorization Documents, or work permits, to all individuals living in the United States, including illegal aliens, visa overstayers, and H-1B guest workers, while Option 4 provides EADs only to those on certain unexpired non-immigration visas. Giving EADs to any of the covered individuals, however, is in direct violation of Congress's Immigration and Nationality Act and works to dramatically subvert our carefully wrought visa system. These plans to issue work permits to DAPA and expanded DACA programs were challenged by 26 states and frozen by Texas federal judge Andrew Hanen. But that isn't stopping Obama, who has a phone and a pen. A president hell-bent on awarding 12 million people that have violated our immigration laws and introduced waves of criminal activity into the United States, similar to the skyrocketing crime-laden hidden hell pit over in Europe. A carefully executed, media-biased, sovereign-shocking ocean of non-naturalized immigrants with zero knowledge of the laws and culture of the new lands they are now inhabiting, demanding to be met with the promise of a new life that doesn't exist. The Cloward-Piven strategy to break the back of the welfare system, in turn forcing a New World Order-led socialist regime offering a guaranteed annual income, is accelerating. 2016 is shaping up to be the year President Obama completely takes the gloves off, destroying the sovereignty and ignoring the checks and balances of our government with impunity, while his European counterparts lead the way. John Bound for INFOWARS.com.
Take a look at this article we got up on INFOWARS. This, of course, ties into the plan for gun confiscation and to completely propagate the youth into giving up the guns in the future. School suspends 6-year-old for playing with imaginary bow and arrow. And their school policy states they have no tolerance for any real, pretend, or imitated violence. And, of course, the parents are like, is this absolutely necessary? Does he have to get a 3-day suspension, being that he was 6 years old and he was playing? And his father thinks his punishment is so severe that it's really hard for him as a parent to try to make it a teachable moment for our kid so that they can move forward in a healthy manner. And of course, they're saying regardless of what the school's stance is, they're going to continue to encourage their son to use his imagination. And of course, we know the schools will just